Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
All right, welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Sylvester Inspires BeliefCast. Thank you again for joining in week after week. I love you guys. Your support's been fantastic. I do want to again give a shout out to our sponsors, Siegfried and Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, and Veracity Networks. You guys are amazing. Thank you for all that you do and for your love and support of me. I wouldn't be where I'm at without you guys. And I'd like to thank all of my previous guests. They've come on, they've been vulnerable, they've shared amazing stories, and it's allowed this to reach a lot of people who are struggling, a lot of people who are just doing great things in life and making a difference. And today's no different. Today we're joined by Abby LaBaron. Abby, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, soon to be Holman, Abby Holman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, she's engaged to Max. A little shout out to Max.
Shout out Max.
And a good friend of mine and coworker, Tina, who's going to be your mother-in-law, has, basically we've been talking about this off the air. Like, she's just like your biggest fan.
She is just hyping me up.
Abby, you've been on American Idol. You got the golden ticket. Is that what they call it?
The golden ticket. The Willy Wonka golden ticket.
The Willy Wonka golden ticket. But I'll be honest with you. One of the main reasons why I love that you're on this podcast today, the BeliefCast, is the way you carry yourself.
Well, thank you.
And what I mean by that is you're very confident. You're very positive. You're not afraid to just be you. You're goofy. You're funny, And I really just love that authentic piece about you. And I know I hear a lot of this through Tina, but I've also followed you as well since you've been on American Idol, and it's just been really cool to see how you live your life.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So, again, you were one of the most recent alumni from the American Idol experience, which we're going to talk about, which I can't wait. And the judges that you had judging you, which I can imagine how that felt at the time. You are a singer. You're musical. I think there was a time in life, probably recently, where you're wondering, who am I really? Do I just love to sing, or am I really this singer? And I'm telling you guys, her voice is beautiful. It really, truly is. It's beautiful voice. You said something here, and this is back to what I was saying. You said, not only did you make the show, but you received 3 empathic yeses from the judges. And the judges were Katy Perry,
Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie. I mean,
talk about the trifecta of these amazing, successful singers in their own right. But to get yeses from all of them was amazing. And then, which sent you to Hollywood. But then you said you came to learn a heartfelt perspective early in life. You can't become what you want unless you embrace what you are. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I think, so growing up, my family is super musical, and, me and my 2 younger brothers, we sing, and my mom sings, and my older brother plays the piano. So it was kind of like the normal that we would, all sing together. But more than that, I don't know, Provo, Utah, I feel like a lot of people are super musical and like everyone's just kind of good at something like that.
Yeah.
And so I never thought, I had dreams when I was a little girl of like going on The Voice or American Idol or these big singing shows. But then as I grew older and like, just kind of life hits you and you're like, oh, maybe I should get a more realistic dream. It just seemed more unrealistic the more I got older, and I think I got in my own way, where I wouldn't allow myself to dream big anymore. And so it just kind of felt like to have this big goal or dream to be on American Idol or to even call myself a singer was like kind of embarrassing and like far-fetched.
Isn't that interesting? And I think you bring up a very, I think, common thing that people go through. Because as kids, you're thinking, I'm going to be on American Idol. I'm going to be on The Voice. And you believe that as this young girl, right? And you're singing, you're doing this as part of your family. But as you get older, isn't it interesting? We always start to kind of doubt. All of a sudden, doubt starts to creep in. Why do you think that is?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think, one thing I always go back to is like in high school, everyone kind of like is known for something. And here's a funny story. I actually was known for, my nickname was NARP. And it stands for NARP. It stands for non-athletic regular person. Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, well, that was me. And it was funny. We had some laughs. But, when I got to college, I lived with one of my really good friends. And I told her once I moved out, hey, I'm no longer NARP, okay? I'm not NARP anymore. And, I'm going to rise above that. And she told me, all the stuff that she's, not going to be anymore. You kind of just have these like labels that you either put on yourself or other people put on you that you are kind of hard to grow out of, especially the ones that you believe about yourself.
Yeah, so NARP, what does it stand for again?
Non-athletic regular person. I didn't do any sports. Music was my thing.
Right. But you get this quote-unquote label probably for fun at the time. It was
for sure. It was funny.
But yet there's probably a part of you on some level that believed it, which then held you back a little bit. That's kind of what I hear you're saying.
For sure, yeah. So, and I think because, in high school, there are like funny labels you give each other and it is fun. I kind of refrained from making like the singing girl my label or something because that was like so precious to me. Yeah. I really love singing and I didn't want that to ever be like this joke. I don't know. It just I think that would have about killed me.
Right, yeah. Well, tell us, so you have 3 brothers, is that correct? Mm-hmm. And then where do you fall in the pecking order?
So I have one older brother, and he's one who is amazing at piano. And then it's me. I'm the only girt, and then I have 2 younger brothers. And then
you're outnumbered.
Yes, I am. But we have a lot of
How
fun.
was that growing up with 3 brothers?
I don't think it was much. I don't know. Obviously, it's the only thing I know. But
yeah, right.
I feel like me and my brothers, we get along and we relate on many levels, and we have things that we're interested in, like music, and that's something that we can all relate on. Anime is another one.
Anime, right. So, how old were you when you started realizing you love singing, or that this was your part of your dream again as a kid? How old were you when this came about?
Yeah, like I said, when I was younger, that was totally the dream. I mean, you just kind of reach for the stars when you're younger. You're like, I'm going to be an astronaut. I'm going to be whatever the heck it is. And, as I grew older, that kind of went away. But then, like I said, moving out to college was like, oh, wow, no one knows me. No one cares about me, which is, that sounds harsh, but that's actually, it was a freeing thought, actually, that no one cares as much as I think they do. And like the person that cares the most about what I'm being perceived as or what I think I'm being perceived as is me. Yeah. And so when I, moved out to college, I was like, all right, well, who do I want to be? And it's not embarrassing to go for these like big goals because no one cares, and I'm in this point in life where it is pivotal and like, why not try now? Yeah.
I saw this shirt the other day that says, no one cares, work harder. I was like, wow. I
love that.
Okay. Yeah. That's kind of harsh, but probably true,
I know, but
right?
Sometimes, the thought of no one caring is actually really comforting.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think you nailed it when you said we're the ones that care the most about ourselves and we judge ourselves. And then what we do is then we project that thinking, well, that's what everyone else thinks about me.
Exactly.
When is, here the way I view you and everyone here loves you, honestly. And you probably think, well, no one here at Wasatch cares about me, but we do, honestly. And, thanks to Tina. And again, she's your biggest cheerleader, which is fantastic. But again, I'm really impressed by the way you carry yourself. So I want to ask you, when you were a young girl, did you always kind of have this confidence and this positivity? Because that's, you have this big energy about you. Were you that way when you were younger?
I would say I was more so like that when I was younger. I really thought I was so cool.
You weren't a NARP.
I wasn't a NARP. No, I was super confident, and even now I do consider myself confident in a lot of aspects. But then I think what comes with growing up is reality hitting you, and then you going, oh man, I don't know if I'm all that, or, I don't
Sure.
know if this is good about me or whatever, or I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm good enough. And all those thoughts kind of start to come.
Yeah. Well, I think anyone who can get on stage and sing, I mean, you have to have some confidence. I mean, I'm sure you get nervous and scared even when you first were starting out even. But again, to be able to do that, to me, I mean, I can't even imagine me stepping on stage. One, I don't have a good voice. But two, that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it was really hard. It was really nerve-wracking. And it was one of those things where I didn't, I couldn't go, okay, well, I'm going to go perform in front of these celebrities. So I'm going to perform X amount of times to get ready for that. No, there's nothing that you can prepare you for that moment. And I had never really, I had very little performance experience before going on. So it really was just like
other than like at a family party. Or...
Yeah, like a fan, in the basement, my dad's like, hey, people are over. Abby really wants to sing. I'm like, Dad, I didn't say I really wanted to sing, but,
You're like, but I will.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit still more about your childhood. What were some of the struggles maybe that you went through as a young girl, just, whether it was with self-esteem or some other issues that you would be comfortable telling us?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, when I was younger, confidence wasn't really an issue. I don't know. I was pretty like self-confident and self-aware. And then, just when it came to something that I valued a lot, which was singing, I didn't want to not feel not confident about it. Right. So I just didn't share it as much as I would have liked to.
Okay.
And so, moving out to college, it's actually funny. I got into climbing when I was in college.
Okay.
But by no means am I really good. But I do like it. But I remember seeing like in the hall, this, friendly acquaintance from high school, and we just were catching up, and she was like, oh, aren't you a climber? And I like launched in this full explanation of like, well, I'm not a climber per se. Like I just like it. I climb. And it just like reminded me of how I'm like, why do I say, well, I sing, I'm not a singer per se. Like it doesn't matter. And what if I wanted to be a singer? What's so bad about that? Why can't I just own that part of myself? And so I think a pivotal moment in my life was moving out to college and going, you know what? I'm a singer, and that's okay. And it was like telling myself that it's okay. No one else was saying it wasn't okay, just me.
Yeah. I love that. It's like when you say I'm a singer, you're owning it, right? I've heard this once, and it's really powerful to me. If you don't own your story, it owns you. Wow. And that's been part of your story. I mean, you started singing when you were this young girl, right?
Yeah.
And so I love that. I think that's a really important lesson for all of us. It's okay to own who we are, or what we love to do, or those kind of things. And instead,
I think it's actually a necessary part in progressing, because if I hadn't said, you know what, this is who I am, then I couldn't have progressed farther. If I'm a singer, okay, now that I know that I'm a singer, what does a singer do? Well, a singer performs. Right. And I never thought about performing before. Right. But now that I'm in my mind, I'm a singer. Well, of course, it's a no-brainer. I'm going to go perform, or I'm going to make that a part of myself. Now it's a less scary thing because I have embraced who I have wanted to be.
Right. So obviously, you're in college now, right? And how long ago was it that you were on American Idol?
So it was this last season. It's actually still going, but I went to California the first time in November of 2020. So talk about that experience, and talk about what made you decide to go, okay, I'm going to try out for American Idol, and then just walk us through that process and just, what you went through. And then I'd love you to also talk about when you're standing there in front of those three celebrity judges and how that was. Yeah. So in August last year, I got a DM, as a direct message on Instagram from one of my old neighbors, Renee, and she sent me this video explaining how to audition for American Idol. And I never thought about it. I still hadn't. Yeah, it was not on my horizon, even though I was, trying to embrace who I wanted to be. I still didn't even cross my mind. And she sent me that instruction video, and I, texted her back. I was like, ha, Renee, whatever. And she says, it's not a joke, Toots. I was like,
really?
Okay. Just still kind of brushing it off. But I watched the video. It wasn't that long. And it explained that you can, because of COVID, you can try out over
Okay.
Zoom. So I was like, well, if I don't have to wait in a line for 8 hours, you know what? Sign me up. Why
Yeah.
not?
Why
And
not?
it was
Yeah.
kind of this thing where this mindset of like, yeah, that's not embarrassing. I'm going to go for my dreams. Why not? This is the time, and I'm going to try it out. So I signed up, and when the time came, it was just like this Zoom call. I was in my basement, my parents' basement, and I was reading chords off of my phone because I didn't have any.
Oh,
I wasn't
really?
prepared, really. I just had chords on my phone. I didn't
You're
know.
like, I'm winging this.
I really didn't think anything would come of it. I just
Uh-huh.
thought this is
Sure.
a cool way to face my fears and actually,
Yeah.
say I did something.
Right.
And I really thought the end of it was going to be like a cool, 2 truths and a lie thing. Like, oh, one day I tried out for American Idol. But
yeah.
I ended up getting on, which was super surprising to me.
Did it really surprise you?
It really did, because I didn't know what to expect. I didn't ask. I didn't research. I just did it.
So when you got asked to be on, yes, you were surprised, but were you like, man, maybe I can do this?
Yeah, I think it really started the journey of like, can I do something like this? And who do I want to? Who do I want to be?
Right.
So yeah, I sang for like 3 producers, I think, over Zoom, and the last one, they do a really good job kind of concealing their emotions while you're singing. So you're like, am I even doing good?
They're all like this, just
They're like
straight-faced.
Okay, let me just we'll pass you on to the next one. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I'm doing bad? I would never know. So
right.
until the last one, and she said that I was the best they'd heard all day, and that it was a definite yes. And I had to be like, I was like, a definite yes, as in what? What does that mean?
Right.
And so she, she explained that I was going to go sing in front of the celebrity judges, and I could not believe it. After that conversation with her, I was going to go run upstairs to go tell my family. I turned the corner and I almost tripped over my dad. He was laying there, and he had been listening.
Oh, he was listening.
Yeah, because no one else could be in the room, but he, he was hiding there. He was laying on the floor, and I was like, "What are you doing here, Dad?" But anyway,
wow.
So that's the story of how I even got accepted to go perform in front of the celebrity judges. And so, yeah, it's a really odd thing to prepare for, because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
And like I said, I never had.
Well, here's what's interesting
like
too.
it.
You said you didn't really prepare for it. You're just like, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I got nothing to lose. And maybe that was the reason. You're a great singer, but maybe that you performed better just knowing, like, you almost didn't put the pressure on yourself by saying,
oh, for sure.
Oh my gosh, I got to do this.
For
it
sure.
was versus, hey, I'm going to give this a shot. Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it was like no sweat. And then same thing before I went into the celebrity judges, their room to sing for them. I had this, obviously I was a ball of nerves, but then I just had this thought like, well, I didn't think I was going to make it this far. What's the big idea? What's the harm? It's just, I'm just going to go sing for them, and probably nothing's going to happen. And so for some reason that was really comforting to me, that I'm like, oh, I will not get a golden ticket, and so it's okay. But I did.
Well, you did. So, but what you were saying is that you kind of almost said you're not going to get it anyways. So I'm just going to go have fun almost.
Yeah. I think there's a benefit in maybe like having low expectations and, I don't know, not selling yourself short, but having low expectations of like, I'll be okay if I don't go farther.
Do you struggle, or have you struggled with feeling like if you were, I don't know, it's almost like, you were almost too humble about all this. It seems like, did you almost feel like it would be bragging, or did you ever feel that way? Like, oh, I'm being like prideful if I'm like saying I'm all that and this. For sure.
That was the whole reason I didn't even want to really share my singing in high school, because I didn't want to look like, and this is, the whole American Idol stories, I didn't want to look like I was showing off. And so when I went in that room, they kind of, roasted me like, well, this is the industry, kind of requires you to,
I remember
quote
watching
unquote,
that.
Show off.
You're like, I don't even know what I'm doing.
I don't know, yeah.
And they were like, well, this is what you're supposed to do.
I know. And so, like I said, I went into that room with the mindset of like, oh, whatever, whatever happens, happens. But while I was in that room, and while they were explaining to me, no, this is what it's about, and like, kind of, do you want this? And my mindset totally shifted, and all of a sudden I wanted it so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh,
really?
I wish I would have prepared more. I wish I could have, all these things started, going through my mind, and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. I think it took them being like, well, what are you doing?
Right.
To kind of wake me up from that fear of, oh, I don't want to show off, or I don't want to look like this. It was like, no, it all became about, do you want this? And yes.
And
I
the
did.
answer was yes.
The answer was yes. And so, you know, I sang.
Is that kind of when you also had the shift of, you know what, I am a singer?
Yeah.
Versus,
yeah.
do I just like singing?
Yeah. And even when I was in California, meeting so many people, a lot of them, I mean, way more established as an artist than I was, and or had tried out for multiple shows or this show a couple times. And I kind of got in my head where like, I was like, oh my gosh, again, I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not qualified for this, whatever qualified means. You know,
Right.
I'm there. I'm living and breathing and
Right.
I sing. So that's qualification
Sounds
enough.
like you're
I
pretty
got
qualified.
in. Yeah. But I think that was also kind of like an internal battle while I was there.
Yeah.
But it really was a great learning experience for me because I was able to go, you know what? I can do this. And, you know, stop comparing myself to myself or comparing myself to other people.
Right.
So.
Wow. So now here you are walking out there to sing in front of the, it's Katy Perry, Luke Bryan, and Lionel Richie. I mean, wow. I mean, so tell us about what was that like walking out there and seeing these three, they're there to critique you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, beforehand, all the producers and everyone's trying to tell you like, they're just real people. And they're trying to like, make you less nervous. But like I walk in and it still doesn't feel real that I'm looking at them. And I'm like, are we sure they're real people still?
Right.
These could be wax figures.
Yeah, right.
They look so like, you know, done up and I'm like, are we sure they're real? But no, I said that it felt like a fever dream, and that is true because
Really?
even after watching it air, I was like, oh, I don't remember that happening. I forgot. That was just like,
really, it's kind of a blur to you.
Well, the cool thing or the interesting thing too is that they probably aired maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and I was in there for maybe 20 minutes.
Oh, really?
So, you know, they cut out, you know, a lot of things, and they gave me a lot of great advice, all of which they didn't share all of it, but
right.
You know.
Wow. So then you got yeses from all three. How did that feel when you, after, I mean, again, it was probably surreal in the moment, but.
It was surreal in the moment, and I think it kind of gave me permission in a way, like, to go for my dreams. Like, okay, well, it's not just me who's saying that I can, it's them, and at the moment, I kind of viewed it as now I have permission to go for my dreams. But later I learned, like, I don't need that. All I need is permission from myself, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. Well, but it doesn't hurt.
No, but it really doesn't hurt.
You know what I mean? I mean, I've talked to a lot of people over the years who have pursued their dreams, whether it's music or sports or writing a book or whatever it may be. And it's almost like, again, you're right. We have to give ourselves permissions, but it's nice to get someone who's in the field of what you're doing, say, you know what, you do have what it takes. And it's good to hear that. Because like, oh, hey, you know what, I got something here.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
Know?
That was, you know, incredible to hear, obviously, that they thought I was good. I mean, I was like blown away.
Yeah.
Luke Bryan said that I gave him chill bumps. And I was like, what? I gave Luke Bryan chill bumps? What?
Yeah.
You know,
well, I watched that, by the way, and it was awesome. I mean, it really was. And I'm sure you were probably nervous, but from watching it from our perspective, you looked confident. You looked like, man, this girl just, this is what she does. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm sure you had a different story going in your head. But
oh yeah, I think there's a lot of, you know, coping mechanisms to try
so
to
looking back on it, I mean, obviously, so that then you got the golden ticket, you got to go to Hollywood, you got to do all that stuff. And granted, I'm sure that was a stress because I've watched that before and that looks just like chaos.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Especially when you have to group up with people. Okay, go find 3 people and you guys got to, you know, hurry and grab them and come up with some kind of a song you guys are going to sing.
Yeah, luckily they this time they actually assigned you a partner.
Oh, they did. Okay.
And I was so glad about that actually because that was so stressful. Kind of even when you made friends, it was like, well, are we the best match? And I don't want to mess your thing up, and you know, I want both of us to have the best chance. But they paired us up, and it was really chaotic. They, especially with COVID, they put you in one room, one really echoey room, so everyone's singing at the same time, different songs, and it's like I don't even know what I'm hearing. And then we had to stand 6 feet apart from our duet partner, and we couldn't face them while we sang. So it was the hardest time to even hear what we were doing. It was probably one of the most stressful times.
Yeah. So obviously you do more performances and you were moving along, but it got to the point where, you didn't make it on, you didn't move on to the next.
Yeah.
How did that feel in that moment? Did you, were you doubting yourself in that moment, or were you like, you know what? Hey, this gave me exactly what I needed. What was going on?
I finally came to a point where I was like, wait a minute, I love performing. It's so nerve-wracking, but being on the stage, I was like, I didn't know I loved this so much. And so it was just, all I can be is grateful for the experience and for how far, I got, because I did learn how much I loved it and what I exactly wanted to do. But it was a bummer for sure when I got sent home. I got sent home at the second round of Hollywood Week. It was the duet round. And it's not super big of a surprise. Like I said, I kind of went into the whole thing really not expecting much. And so anything that I got, I was just really grateful for. So they sent me home and they said I needed to go get more experience. It's funny you say that. I look really confident. They said stage presence was something. I'm like, okay, yeah, true.
Yeah, there's always, you can improve in every area, I'm sure. But.
For sure. So yeah, I think it just motivated me more to really discover more who I am. That was one thing too. The first round in Hollywood Week is called the Genre Challenge, and you have to pick a genre that you feel like you are.
Yeah.
And I just did not know enough about me and about I just sing a lot of kinds of music, and so I just figured, well, I'm kind of all of them. Like, how do I choose one? And there's a lot of producers, but one of them just said, well, I'll just choose pop then. There's a lot of overlap, whatever. Yeah. So I just chose pop. But now looking back on that, I'm like, all of the songs I sang were considered like indie folk. And
really?
I'm like, why did I do that?
You're like, why did I choose
pop? That made no sense. Maybe I could have gotten more airtime, but whatever. There's always what ifs.
Right.
But that also was kind of huge for me. I'm like, I can't rely on other people to tell me, maybe this is who you should be, or maybe this is who you seem like you are. I need to figure that out before I kind of do that.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, I'm sure you learned many lessons through this whole process, but what's one of the biggest lessons that you took away from this American Idol experience?
Yeah, I think, I don't know, you are what you believe. If you believe that you're a singer, then you're a singer. And then if you believe you're a singer, it's so much easier to, I guess, act as a singer would. You embrace that. Yeah. And so now you can be more confident moving forward.
Yeah.
I think that's a lesson I had to learn earlier. A couple years ago, I was in this relationship that wasn't great, and there were mistakes that were being made, and during this time, I listened to a podcast. Actually, I can't remember what it's called, but it has this guy in it named Rob Farrell, and he talks about inner contention and how that starts.
Right.
And it starts with what you talk about with belief systems, with what you believe about yourself.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought, I'm in this relationship, whatever. I got, after getting out of that, I went through the repentance process, all of that. I got away from it, and I still was miserable. And I thought, why do I still feel miserable? I thought I removed myself from the situation. I, am good now. I went through the repentance
doing all
process,
the right things.
all the right things.
Yeah.
But I just felt like a bad person. I would classify myself honestly as a bad person. I did not think I was good.
Really?
And it took a really long time to realize it was because of what I thought about myself.
Yeah.
One of the most important things was realizing that it was what I believed about myself. This one particular day, I was feeling really down on myself, and I prayed to God that I could feel good again. And that day, like 3 separate times, I got a text from 3 different people in my family, my mom, my dad, and my grandma, and they all specifically said, just out of the blue, I wanted to tell you how good you are. and that you're good. And that was exactly what I needed to hear. Of course, that was an obvious answer from God, I felt, but I still didn't feel it. And I didn't feel it because I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And so that was a lesson I had to learn too, where I was like, okay, despite this clear answer from God, I don't believe it. And that's the cool thing about beliefs, is that we choose them.
Yeah.
So that was the lesson I had to learn, was that, okay, am I going to keep believing this lie? And you talk about the bully in your mind, and you have to confront the lie.
The lie. Yeah.
The bully tells you lies. And so I had to,
look at you. Wow.
I did my research.
Yes, you did. Yeah. Wow. I'm impressed.
No, but yeah, I had to tell myself, you know what? That's a lie. And this is what I'm going to choose to believe about myself. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's a struggle every day. Yeah. It's not, one and done. It's not super easy, but that principle alone changed my life. And every day after that, you choose what you believe about yourself. Yeah. And I think that it can apply in so many different situations, even being an American Idol, thinking about myself, oh, I'm not as good as this person, or I'm not as prepared. Well, you know what? I'm not gonna choose to believe that I'm not good enough, or I'm not gonna believe that I'm not worthy enough to be here.
Right.
Because that only will hinder me. And that's what that's what I mean by I get in my own way.
Yeah.
If you believe something negative about yourself, you are in this cycle of contention.
Right. Wow. Very well said, by the way. And I think everyone listening to this right now can go, yep. I think everyone on some level struggles with exactly what you just said. And man, you gave me chills when you said, we are what we believe. I'm like, she's speaking my language right now. I love that. But it's so true. And what's funny is, if I was to ask you, can you prove to me you're not a good person? Like, could you prove it to me? And you'd say no. And it's just funny. You nailed it right on the head. It's a lie that we're telling ourselves that keeps us stuck and causes that contention you're talking about.
Yeah. And I love, the way that it was explained when I heard it from Rob Farrell was that it is this cycle where, okay, if I think I'm a bad person and then I'm confronted with, a right or wrong choice, it's going to be so much easier for me to make this wrong choice because, well, I'm already a bad person. I mean, what's this? Is that really going to hurt more? And then after the wrong choice, that just confirmed to me that I'm a bad person. And then I say, okay, I'm never going to do that again until I feel bad again. And then it's just a cycle.
Wow.
And so, it was a really amazing lesson for me to learn that it wasn't, maybe the behavior and the mistake or whatever it was that was making me feel miserable. It was what I believed about myself.
Wow. Very well said. Like, man, how old are you again?
I'm 20.
She's 20, folks. Seriously, like, honestly, that's why I'm so impressed with you. Again, the way you carry yourself. Again, you're not perfect, and I'm not saying you are, but again, you carry yourself in such a way, and I appreciate you sharing that, story. I appreciate you being vulnerable around that, because I think, again, every listener listening to this right now will go, you know what? I totally relate with what she's saying. And especially the younger kids who are listening to this as well. Mm-hmm. So, what would you tell someone right now who's thinking the same thing that you've struggled with? They're right now thinking, I'm a bad person. Yeah.
I think that it's hard because it does take a lot of, I don't know, maybe self-reflection or I would say just find the wrong beliefs in your life. Mm-hmm. Find where the lies that the bully is telling you and really analyze them and decipher if they're true or not. And then, they're not.
Yeah, you'll find out they're really not.
They're really not, especially if it's telling you that you're a bad person. No one, you can change and you have that power. I think that's actually a beautiful thing, that we choose our beliefs, because the only thing that we have power over is ourselves. And so, if you can decipher what in your life or what belief is making you miserable, it's up to you, and you have the powers in your hands. You can change that.
Yeah. Wow. Beautiful. So why is your faith and so important to you, and how has that played a part in all of this for you?
I think going through that difficult time, the only thing I could do was rely on the Lord, and even when I would get promptings or answers to prayers that were really specific, it was about believing them and believing what God feels about me, and I think knowing that what he thinks about me is the most important, that can make me, it can help me just do so many hard things or just go on with life,
Yeah. Has prayer played a big part in what you do? Like, I would imagine, because again, you talked about you were struggling, you reached out and prayed to God and said, please help me realize I'm a good person. And then you get those 3 texts.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I would imagine even through the American Idol experience, but just throughout your whole life, has prayer played a big part in moving forward and helping you make it through difficult times?
For sure. I think prayer is the way that you gain a relationship with God. And I don't mean to plug a song that I wrote, but I did write a song called Before I Knew You. And it's about, before I really knew the Lord. And I really attribute getting a relationship with him through prayer and making your prayers like conversations, because he's your greatest advocate, he's your friend, and so they don't have to be super formal. They can be you just pouring your heart out kind of a thing. So I wrote this song where it's kind of about before I knew God, I knew everything about him. I knew his stories, and I grew up hearing all of his stories and reading the scriptures and everything like that. But the moment that I really feel like I knew him was when I was at a point in my life that I had to be really humbled, and I had to rely on him so heavily. And that was when, the times that I prayed the longest or the most most raw prayers, I guess you could say, that aren't, just the general.
Yeah, the repetitional dream. It's more heartfelt.
Yeah, it was like, pleading for help. And I think when you have a relationship with God, there's so much more is possible.
Yeah, I think that's key too. I think it's one thing to say, hey, I believe in God or a higher power. And again, this is for our listeners, and whether, no matter what you believe, but I think we have to do our part. There's a term that I hear a lot in recovery is faith without works is dead. Right? Yeah. So the opposite must be true. Faith with works must be alive.
Yeah.
Right?
I like that.
Yeah. And so I would imagine as you're praying, that's you exercising your faith. Therefore it becomes alive.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And going back to, what we said before, well, if faith without works is dead, then God can tell you all kinds of things that he thinks about you and he loves about you. But if you don't believe it, then it's worth nothing.
Well, it's kind of like when you got those texts from your family members, you still were like, you still struggled, even though you got confirmation. Yeah. It was like, what mattered most is, what do you believe? Yeah.
Those texts didn't change what I believed. I had to change what I believed.
Yeah. Probably helped though.
Yeah.
Right? It's great to hear the feedback and someone really cheering you on, saying, hey, we believe in you. We love you. You're a great person, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this is critical for anyone listening to this, is if, again, those are all good and we should reach out to our higher power, God, whatever you believe. But I think you hit it on the head, Abby, that we have to believe it ourselves. We have to get there. Do you feel like you're there now?
Yeah, I think, obviously, I'm not perfect, and there are thoughts that will come in my head that are like, oh, are you sure you're good enough or worthy, or whatever those things are, but I think those will never go away. I think that's just kind of how life is, and I think learning how to, or what to do with those thoughts, and like kind of what you say is realize that they're lies, and then if you have a process for when those thoughts come in. Like, okay, well, I'm going to examine them. Okay, it's a lie. Well, I'm not going to entertain it anymore. Yeah. I don't believe that. And this is what I believe. So
love it.
I think I'm definitely at a better, I'm for sure at a better spot. Yeah. After having to learn that, because I didn't understand that quite fully. but it is an everyday process.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I'm going to ask you a really tough question. It shouldn't be tough, but it will be. So what do you love most about you?
Oh, wow.
I know most people are like, excuse me? What? And
yeah,
I know,
really...
and I know you don't typically think, we don't usually
Uh-huh.
think in those kind of terms, but again, I think it's important. I think it's a good question because it really is, it's soul searching a little bit, but,
Yeah.
so I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but what do you love most about you?
Huh. Let me think about that for a second. Well, I tend to, maybe this is a weakness and a strength, I don't know. I tend to analyze things a lot, like
Okay.
even analyze the way I think. Like, am I thinking about that right? Or,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes that can get me into trouble. Overthinking is definitely a thing.
Yeah.
But I do think, I like that about myself because
Yeah.
that it's the pursuit of truth. And I think
Yeah.
pursuing truth is
I
important.
call that awareness.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being aware.
No.
Yeah. We can always overdo
Mhm.
everything.
Right.
And we can overthink at times or whatever. Again, like you said, you're not perfect as much as we think she is. Abby's not perfect, but no, that again, I just think, as I'm hearing you talk and just again, the way you carry yourself, I was just curious on what you would say because again, it does seem like you really do love yourself.
Well, thank you. That is a compliment.
Yeah. Yeah, you do, just a good energy. Obviously, we know why Max is in love with you and their whole family and all that stuff, right?
Oh.
So what has been the best part of your day today?
Today?
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, listening to music. It was an hour drive up here, and I love to take the time to listen to either music or a podcast and kind of, like I said, I love to think, and sometimes I overthink, and so sometimes it's nice to just get in the car and turn something on and not think for a second.
Yeah. Wow. So what are you doing now? Let's talk about that for a minute. Like, so you go through this American Idol experience, and obviously you're going through your own personal challenges. You're working through all that, which is great.
Yeah.
You're in school. You're getting married, and it's August, right?
Uh-huh.
So congratulations on
Thank
that.
you so much.
She's got a beautiful ring on, by the way, folks.
Thank
It's
you.
gorgeous. And I'm, again, I love Max. He's such a great guy.
Me too.
And his family's amazing. But what are your plans? I mean, you're now saying, no, I'm a singer and I love performing.
Yeah.
What are your future plans? What do you want to do? And I know you've released some songs, and we want to talk about how to get there, and we'll get there in a minute. But what's the plans?
Well, so far, the things I've been sharing, like songs you said, are just on my social media.
Okay.
But I'm working on releasing an album. And so
Nice.
that's in the works.
Cool. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
cool.
So that's a plan right now. And
Heck yeah.
being on American Idol definitely gave me a boost to go figure out who I am and what's my, persona and what do I want to share about me and stuff like that. So that's all in the works too, and hopefully
Nice.
a music video soon and something like that.
on.
I wish I had a specific time, but
Yeah.
you'll have to follow me on social media to see.
Yeah. You have to follow her, guys.
Shameless
So
plug.
so right now all your music is just on your social media.
Yeah, just like covers I'll do on and post on social media, but
Eventually you're gonna
soon,
have an album that we can get on iTunes and
Yes.
other platforms,
Spotify, Apple Music, stuff like that.
all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Very cool. No, that's awesome. And again, I'm glad that you got to that point where you're like, no, I am a singer. Because again, I've heard your voice. If you haven't heard her voice, I want you to go follow her so you can go listen to some of these songs she's talking about are fantastic. So how many, I guess, songs, is that what you call them? Have you performed and that's on your social media that we can listen to?
Oh man.
There's a bunch.
I mean, I started my account like it's fairly new. That was one thing I was a little afraid to start because I didn't want to look like, oh, I think I'm all that. I'm gonna start a singing page and I know all of you want to follow it. But that was something I had to get over myself, and I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna do it. So I don't know, maybe there are like 10.
Okay.
Just I post here and there, just covers.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
But on the album there will be, I think, 8 songs, and 1 will be an original song by me, and then the other 7 will be covers.
Yeah. I don't know if I can ask this, but I'm going to anyways. Do you know the title of your album, or is that something you don't know yet, or do you know and don't want to share?
I actually don't know yet. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just curious.
Yeah.
It's not going to be titled Max or something like that. No.
No, definitely.
This is all
definitely not.
dedicated to Max.
No, maybe later.
No, that's exciting. I'm glad that you're doing that. And again, I think you have that talent for a reason, is to share it.
Thank you.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, would you agree with that? Like, if we have these talents, shouldn't they be shared? Or
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing I had to learn too, was like, okay, when does it get to the point where I'm hiding it under a bushel, so to speak, you know?
Right. Yeah, right.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to share that, and if there's any way I could uplift people or inspire people, that's the goal.
Lift people, inspire people. So that leads into my next question. If there's someone listening to you right now
Mm-hmm.
who's in a dark place,
Mm-hmm.
who maybe is really believing they're no good and they're just struggling, what advice could you give them right now? I know you've given some really good advice already, but what would you tell that one person right now who's listening?
Yeah. I think finding the wrong beliefs in your life and really going after them and challenging them and choosing not to believe them, that's kind of an overarching theme. That's what I would challenge anyone who's struggling to do. But that's easier said than done. I would say maybe something, that obviously boosted me and helped me was having family members tell me what they thought of me.
Yeah, right.
And it gave me something to go, oh, really? Okay. Do I believe that? So maybe, asking a loved one, a friend or a family member, what do you love about me? Or what do you think about me that's good? And what are the good things about me? And then really, internalize that and take their word for it. Believe it.
Yeah,
Believe
right.
them.
Great advice. I think that's kind of a scary thing to do sometimes too, right? Hey, can you say something good about me? Like something you like about me?
Mm-hmm.
But I love that challenge. I think that would be something really good. Because again, I think when we communicate, especially when we're struggling, it helps us kind of, even just talking about it makes us feel a little better, right?
Yeah. I would say I wish I could go back and tell my younger self a couple years ago when I was, in that relationship that wasn't great and I was miserable and things like that. One of the things that comes with that is pushing people away. And that's something that really could have helped me. But that was me. That was my doing. Anyone who's in a dark place or struggling, maybe don't push people away and invite them closer and ask for help, because that's how it's gonna be way easier to get out of it.
Right. Love it. Very cool. Well, if people want to reach out to you and they want to follow you on social media and all that, what's the best place to do that? And what's your handle, I guess, is what you say?
Instagram and Facebook. I'm more active on Instagram. I'm trying to figure out Facebook, but I do have an account there. It's Abby Leb Music, ABBYLEB Music.
Okay.
So.
Abby Leb Music on Instagram, right?
Check it out.
Yeah, check it out for sure, folks. Well, I'm so grateful for you and for your willingness to come up here. You drove up. I didn't realize you were an hour away, so thank you.
You're good. I like to drive and listen to music.
Okay,
so
good. So that worked out good.
Yes.
No, but that means a lot, and I'm just grateful that you took the time, but more importantly, I'm grateful for the light that shines from you and that you are sharing your talents, because I think you honestly are going to help a lot of people with your music. Because again, your music's all based around good things. It's good concepts. It's about your faith. It's about lifting people and inspiring people. And I think we need more of that in the world.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for taking some time.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Well, there you go, guys. There's Abby LeBaron, soon to be Abby Holman. She's getting married in August. Can you believe she's 20 years old? I mean, seriously, again, the way you carry yourself just blows my mind. So please reach out to her, check her out on Instagram, and I guess eventually Facebook will be going.
Yeah.
But we're looking forward to your album and then hopefully a music video and just seeing more success around there. Hopefully this platform today, being on this Belief Cast, we can help even further that along and get you some more followers and more people, checking out what you're doing. But thank you so much for just everything that you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me here.
You bet. Okay, everyone, thanks for tuning in. I love you guys. Thanks again to my sponsors. This is such an amazing, I'm just spoiled because I get to sit here face to face with these amazing people, but I'm grateful you guys get to listen. Please share this with anyone that you know, especially if you have a younger daughter or a younger son or a niece or a nephew or a cousin who is maybe a little hesitant in pursuing their dreams, that this will inspire them to like go for it. And here we are, and you're going for it, and that's a beautiful thing. And yeah, so anyway, I love you guys, and until next time, take care.